we don't want to create too much of a deficit, especially for executives who use their brains and rely on their brains to make these crucial decisions.
Entrepreneurs, I'm excited for today. A friend of the show, Irma, said, Vince, I've got someone who'd be great for your show, and she wasn't lying. We're bringing on the nutritionist of the year in 2021 and the founder of the Nourishment Resource Center for many years now. And I like how what he does, he provides applicable nutrition frameworks for executives needing simple methods they can sustain. Entrepreneurs want an easy snack idea, usually, right? Restaurant strategies, but don't have time to go anywhere and do anything. That's where David comes into play. David, thank you for joining us here on That Entrepreneur Show.
Thank you, Vincent, for having me. And yeah, that was an accurate description of what we do. And my role in these entrepreneurs' lives is to help them manage their hectic schedules while nourishing themselves properly. So it's interesting, but our CTA is actually lose 1 pound a week while saving 1 hour a week. We tend to focus on the end milestone without really devising a plan that's realistic for us to stick to. So great description of the solutions that we offer, and super excited to be here with you. You're a great host.
Oh, I appreciate the kind words, everyone. Make sure you stick around to the end to get his contact info. But once again, welcome back to That Entrepreneur Show. My name is Vincent A. Lancy. I've got the Tampa hat on today. Has Irma, a Tampa friend now down in Miami as well, said, Vince, we got this great guest. I teased it before, but we'll get into it throughout the show. If you're looking to start a podcast or guest on podcast shows, head to comingalivepodcastproduction.com, our show sponsor, or email comingalivepodcastproduction@gmail.com to get started today. But David, your success didn't just happen overnight. Let's go back in time. What led you to want to become an entrepreneur?
Great question, because I originally started working at the Acupuncture and Chinese Medicine Research Center as a nutritionist. I would design the intake forms for the patients. And unfortunately, we were using protocols that were already pre-made. Nothing was custom. So people weren't really applying the protocols that were being given to them. And that's the reason why, after seeing how people would struggle with their restaurant outings, their family events, their work trips, their personal vacations, all of these were typically setbacks for these individuals participating in those kinds of nutrition regimens. So I knew that if I really wanted to make an impact as a nutritionist here in the local Miami community, and now we've branched out, we're working with pretty much anybody in the nation now, since all supermarkets have the same grocery items, all the restaurant chains have the same menu items. So we've made our program modular now. We've been able to reach a lot more people and stack up some more success stories. But that's basically how I started, is realizing that there needed to be a change with the current way that people are managing their nutrition. The traditional way is to just receive a basic grocery list without any brand specifications, without much detail at all, and to receive a basic meal plan that we have to prepare ourselves and then prep. But the issue is the time and the decision fatigue, right? That's what we all struggle with. So being able to simplify that for people has been really rewarding. And it's interesting how they start off very anxious, not knowing what to do or not knowing what steps to take, but they know exactly where they want to be, whether it be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, getting them to envision themselves in the future, what they're going to look like, what they're going to feel like, how productive they're going to be. That's really the goal when it comes to motivating them to take action with these kinds of things. But yeah, I started off working as a regular nutritionist, and now we're managing the household food logistics side of things, which is the more complicated area of our nutrition, right? It's a lot of work for us. It is very labor intensive, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world because, like I said, we've got some really inspiring testimonials, grandmothers, executives, you name it, adolescents, children. We worked with families, individuals, and the success rate is really high because we think of these failure modes that could happen to these people before they actually occur and devise a plan so that what would typically be something that would hinder somebody becomes almost like an automatic protocol, right? They're on autopilot.
So many great things you said there. Thank you again for bringing the passion to the show. Everyone, he highlighted two things indirectly that are essentials no matter which field you are in entrepreneurship. One, this passion I'm talking about, you have to be really caring about what you're doing because of how many years it takes to get there. And then the overall message there, you have to learn from someone before you can do it yourself, right? Sometimes, including myself, I could have waited longer to go into entrepreneurship. He found what works, what doesn't, how to do the things he needs in his field, build a network, and then he jumped in. So he set himself up for success. David, obviously, things are different when you have a huge company behind you with resources and a budget when you need something done compared to now. You left that corporate field and you became a founder on your own. What were some of the more challenging things for you when you no longer had the established name brand, yet you were building the name brand now?
Well, to become known, right? And to become somebody that people can trust when it comes to nutrition advice or just health advice in general, to be a resource for others, right? We talk about the resources that the companies provide their employees. When we become founders and we become business owners, we become resources for other people, and they're able to come to us with questions and we're able to solve their problems. So really, in terms of the challenges, a work-life balance is never easy to maintain, right? That's a trade-off that I'll also take, especially since the whole idea of what these clients are doing, they're delegating their food decisions entirely to us. So whether they have an upcoming family vacation in the Dominican Republic at a resort, that means us going through the resort's menu online and pre-selecting their meals on their behalf prior to them arriving at the resort. So just being okay with all the administrative tasks, right? And knowing that, okay, at this company, there was a certain person to fulfill every role, right? And everybody is specialized at large companies. With small businesses, we have to wear many hats and we have to know a little bit about everything, right? I never thought I would have to learn anything about tech or a marketing funnel or any of that stuff. And now, because I've gone through so many software engineers, because I've gone through so many bookkeepers and just so many people in general that have come and gone that haven't been a good fit for us, that has been really enlightening because I've seen what mistakes are made along the way and how to avoid them. And it's a painful journey. It's something that is bittersweet, right? As we learn, as we grow, we get better at making these decisions, hiring, firing, knowing who to keep on board, who to let go of. And it's fun. It's fun for anybody who likes action and not having a calm life, having a little bit more of an exciting life. It's really entertaining.
Well, you just teased something there, so I can't breeze past it. Hiring and firing, and it can certainly be challenging. I've had situations where on coaching calls, the client would give me certain feedback. It's tough. You want to see the best in people, but do you have any tips maybe about maybe making a better hire their first time around, excuse me, than we did when we had no help? I hope you're enjoying today's show as much as I am leading the discussion. Remember to subscribe to stay current on our shows.
Well, yeah, it's thinking about all the things that could possibly go wrong with that person and then speaking to somebody else who's already hired a similar specialist to find out, okay, so what was it that you liked about working with, let's say, a social media marketer? What is it that they did that you didn't like? What led to an ROI? What didn't lead to an ROI? So really, like you said, picking other entrepreneurs' brains that have already been through the fire that have already gone through these experiences. And then also using our own judgment, which is something that unfortunately AI cannot do. We use AI for so much nowadays, but human judgment and human decision making will always be essential. And that's something that is never going to be replaced by any robot, because I've had multiple instances where AI has actually steered me in the wrong direction, specifically with this area of
Yeah.
hiring or firing individuals. And having a very organized system to keep track of all the tasks that they complete on a weekly basis, having those recurring meetings set with those individuals and making sure that you stay on top of them, right? Because when you find that one person out of 10 or 20, maybe, that doesn't need to be told what to do or that doesn't need to be provided instructions, you just onboard them and they go and they start working and they start producing. That's one that you may want to keep around. Of course,
Yeah.
you're going to make some changes here and there if they do something that's not 100% according to your style and the way that you like things to be done. But I just recently had that experience where I onboarded a new team member and I didn't have to provide any instructions whatsoever. I didn't have to do anything on my end. I just let her do her thing and it's worked out really well.
Oh man, I love to hear that. Yes, everyone, it is not always a first time perfect fit. You have to learn how to not just manage people, but lead people, how to grow people, grow talent, not just recruit the talent, but retain the talent, right? So everyone stick
Right.
around just a little bit longer. We're going to find exactly how to get in touch with this all-star entrepreneur. But before we dive into learning which entrepreneur he wants to sit down with, we've got some value he can share. You have some tools that you use to help clients lose. For example, 26 pounds of body fat in 6 months without pharmacological intervention. Can we tease that before we send everyone to the website? Can we give a little taste? Do you mind?
Oh, 100%. And I'd like to talk about our methodology because it's very math based, right? And math is something that's objective. It can't be debunked because if the numbers improve, then that's a concrete reality that we're looking at, right? So we see now with the GLP-1 receptor agonists, with the bariatric surgeries, there are a lot of different alternative methods that people are using specifically for weight loss. In the case of the people that come to us, they believe in knowing what their nutrient benchmarks and thresholds should be. So staying within a set calorie range, staying within a set range for each one of the nutrients, knowing which foods will help us stay within those set ranges, right? So tracking our nutrients and maintaining those ranges or remaining within those ranges will lead to better body composition outcomes that we use Hume to measure. All right, we work with InBody as well. Some of our members do DEXA scans on their own time as well. But everything is about tracking and everything is about knowing where we're at along the process and what steps we need to take both mathematically and logistically to get to our desired milestone. So by tracking our nutrients, that's what guarantees that our body composition numbers will also improve. That's our methodology.
I love that. Now, say you're someone who says tracking, but how do I track? What's the best way to track? Is it through a paper and pen, a notepad in my pocket? Is there an app you recommend? Do you have an app or website to use for these things? Or what's the best way to go about tracking?
Great question. So I would start with something simple. Just the free version of MyFitnessPal is enough. So the cool thing about this is that you get a nutrient summary at the end of every day that tells you, it adds up all your numbers automatically. So the grams of protein you consume, the grams of carbohydrates, grams of fats. And then at the end of the day, you're able to see whether you reached your nutrient goals or you stayed within those ranges, or whether you surpassed some or maybe came up short on some of them. So I always say to look at these numbers from an analytical point of view instead of an emotional point of view, because what happens? We're not going to be good at any activity when it's our first day, when it's our second day doing it. After we understand or we start understanding the different nutritional characteristics of the different foods within those food sets, which ones are protein dense, which ones are more carbohydrate dense, which ones are more fat dense. We're able to start changing the way that we assemble our meals to not only make them tasty, but also look at those beautiful numbers at the end of the day and say, okay, I reached my 150-gram protein goal. I had 220 grams of carbs, which is exactly where I need to be. I got 60 grams of fat, which is just enough to keep me productive, right? So particularly for women, this is something I see pretty often. When they go on diets, they'll reduce their fat consumption. And this affects their productivity. This affects their hormonal balance. This affects their energy levels. Women need a lot more fat than we do. That's a common problem that I see typically occurs when women try to do these kinds of diets on their own. And then the men that are very metrics oriented love this kind of a system because it gives them peace of mind that they are doing things correctly and they're doing something that is science based. And the results are gradual, but we have to be okay. Just how entrepreneurship is a grind, nutrition and fitness is also a grind. So the difference is that with entrepreneurship, we'll be steady. The revenue won't increase for several months. We'll be flatlined for a little bit. And then boom, all of a sudden we get the first deal, the first two deals, and everything changes, right? Comes to weight loss and nutrition, it's a little bit different because the progress is more linear. So losing 1 pound a week equates to 52 pounds a year. And why do I say 1 pound a week and not 10 pounds a week? Because I've run into over 3 individuals now that have taken a GLP-1, whether it be Ozempic or another GLP-1 receptor agonist, and they've lost the weight too quickly. They've lost about 10 to 15 pounds per month over a 5-6 month time span. And they've had to have their gallbladders removed because the bile sludge next to the gallbladder accumulated and blocked that duct inside of the body, right? So that's something we want to be careful with, is doing weight loss the right way, losing the weight at a healthy pace, right? And then also we know that calories are units of energy. We don't want to create too much of a deficit, especially for executives who use their brains and rely on their brains to make these crucial decisions. It's really important that we're not in a calorie deficit of 1,000 or more. The ideal calorie deficit to be in so that we can maintain our energy levels at an optimal level is 500 or less, right? I know the process is slower. I know that it could be a little bit more frustrating to move more gradually, but the end result is well worth it because we end up retaining close to 100% of our muscle mass if we do it correctly. And I've even seen our adults over 50 gain muscle mass as they're losing the fat. We know that seniors do not have as optimal as hormone production as we do. And even they've been able to achieve body recomposition when these frameworks have been applied correctly. So originally this program was for the 2 demographics that struggle the most with weight, which are adults over 50 and petite women with low basal metabolic rates. Our basal metabolic rate is basically how many calories our bodies are burning while in a resting state, right? So if we have less muscle mass, if someone's a smaller individual, then the amount of calories that they burn while in a resting state is going to be significantly lower compared to, let's say, a professional athlete that burns over 3,000 calories a day while in a resting state, right? So that tends to vary. And knowing what our numbers are, knowing what our baseline numbers are, because we know weight doesn't tell the whole story. Body fat percentage needs to be taken into consideration, skeletal muscle mass. So I like the question you asked about the tracking, is how we actually do it and how we can stay consistent with it. We track our foods with an app like MyFitnessPal. The one that I use for my private clients is called Chronometer. It's also used by Stanford and Cleveland Clinic. And the good thing about that one is that the foods in the ingredient database are not entered by the users. They're entered by the chronometer team, and so that ensures that all of the nutrients align perfectly with the USDA values. And we know that the USDA Food Data Central website is the most credible source, at least now in 2026, to where we can go and review the nutritional content of the meals that we eat. So knowing where to source our nutrition information and where to verify that we're receiving the correct nutrition information is really important. The USDA Food Data Central database is perfect for that.
Well, everyone, this is the exact hope I have when I bring guests on. They bring this expertise because there's so much information out there in the digital age, but there's not the correct information. And that's what we're bringing you today. But real quick, before I get the website, everyone be sure to subscribe so you don't miss shows like today. Which entrepreneur, David, throughout history are you choosing to sit down with before I get your website?
So I guess we can call him an entrepreneur because he's an author. The reason I choose RFK is because, yes, he's made some changes in terms of the policies of when it comes to food and consumer safety, but there's so much more that needs to be done, Vincent. Even going back to the USDA Food Data Central database, people don't really understand what they're reading unless they're a nutritionist or dietitian. Right. So the omega-3 values are listed in the three different forms of omega-3, EPA, DHA, ALA. So unless somebody is really well educated, they're going to have a hard time understanding that nutrient database. I would love to have a conversation with RFK to try to help the federal government update this database and make it easy to read for just the average person, right? Who are the ones who need this the most. And then also I would talk to him about enforcing the FDA menu labeling rule, which is a rule that requires restaurants with 20 or more locations to list their calories on their menu, as well as provide the nutritional information for their dishes upon request. A lot of them have already become compliant, but there are a lot of them that are not. And the reason why this is helpful for the regular everyday person, particularly for diabetics or somebody who has, let's say, acute kidney disease, they have specific nutrient ratios that they need to meet, right? Like, for example, in the case of somebody who has hypertension, they should not exceed 2,300 milligrams of sodium daily, ideally 2,000 milligrams of sodium daily. When it comes to somebody with kidney issues, their phosphorus is something that they have to monitor. They have to monitor their potassium, the rest of their electrolytes. So by these chains being transparent and complying with the FDA menu labeling rule, they're giving these individuals that are choosing to eat at their restaurants a much better chance at being able to manage these conditions because they've already been provided with the nutrient benchmarks and the nutrient thresholds.
Yep.
And that's something that we're getting involved in as well. So we're actually doing the nutrition facts for a tapas company. They do Spanish cuisine, and they'll go to somebody's house and prepare a beautiful set of tables and chairs, and they'll set up their cooking station in their
Jeez, you got
backyard.
this guy. You've brought everything to the table today. Everyone, now, without further ado, to get this setup he just talked about, to work with him, and remember how he focuses on this progress, not perfection, which I thought was amazing. What is the website? What is the best social media?
So the website is www.nourishmentresource.center. We're primarily advertising our restaurant nutrition labeling there. But for any executives that would like help with either body composition or fatigue support, they can reach me on Instagram. It's at David Arguez. My last name is spelled Arguez, nutritionist. So at David Arguez, nutritionist. And anybody that finds me or that is just now hearing about our mission and what we're doing through your podcast is going to receive an initial assessment session for just $1 as a courtesy to make sure that they are properly set up in terms of their nutrient benchmarks and thresholds, and they also know how to apply the information that I'll give them during the call.
I appreciate that, everyone. What are you waiting for? You know what to do. Head to the website. Be sure to subscribe to stay current, and please share this episode with someone who you think could find value in what he spoke about today. My name is Vincent A. Lansing. You can support the show on all social media and all podcast platforms. Please subscribe to stay current, leave a review, and again, share with someone who you felt resonated with the conversation today. With that, we're signing off today. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Vincent. Great show.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode. I would love to hear your feedback. What did you love? What do you want to see more of? Are there any questions you would like me to ask the guests who come on the show? This show is not possible without you, the amazing listeners, so please email us at podcastsbylancy@gmail.com and let us know what you think. We'll also feature you on a later show. Please remember to subscribe to stay current with our amazing community of guests who will continue to come on the show, sprinkled in with solo episodes from me, Vincent A. Lansing. With that, I look forward to introducing more shows to you each and every week. And with that, we're signing off today. Enjoy the episodes and make it a great day ahead.